Meta's Threads app saw over 100 million registered users within 5 days of its launch, becoming one of the fastest growing apps in history. But what's behind all of this hype? Emily, you penned an op-ed. I know you have some opinions here on Threads and its relation to Twitter and why it's been able to garner so many users so quickly. Talk us through your op-ed.
Sure. And Jen, I of course want to hear your views too. I know everyone has views on Threads and its meteoric rise. So, okay, first we have to disclaim that we don't know that Threads will ultimately be successful, right? Just having early success doesn't mean that it will last in the long haul. But like just looking at the fact that it got 100 million users in 5 days, that's really notable. And so what I found interesting is why Threads was able to gain that kind of traction when there have been so many attempts to challenge Twitter over the years, right? Like Twitter has been ripe for disruption for years now. People are always complaining about Twitter. People are always dramatically quitting Twitter, writing about why they're quitting Twitter. With Elon Musk, that frustration has kind of like hit a peak, right? So there's been so many opportunities and there have been so many attempts, and yet none of them have gotten even close to this. Now, of course, there are some very obvious reasons, but I still think that there are lessons here. I mean, the obvious reason, obviously, is the tie-in with Instagram. And, the fact that Instagram already has something like, 2 billion monthly active users. And, the onboarding process is linked to Instagram. So you could basically like seamlessly do that. But I think the reason why this is worth looking at is that, it just shows that at the end of the day, onboarding, ease of use, and network effects really are king. And, we can talk all we want about like decentralization and about data privacy, and those are unbelievably important, but on their own, they're probably not enough to bring 100 million people onto a new product.
Emily, I am completely with you there. I think privacy and decentralization are important too, but I don't know if it's going to bring billions and billions of users away from something that they've used for a decade, away from where all their friends and family are, to do what? The one thing I will say here is I agree with you. 100 million users in 5 days is big and notable, but will those 100 million users remain active? I don't know. I signed up for Threads just to sign up for it, and I got all of these like random people I haven't spoken to in years. I don't know who to follow. I still go on Twitter every day and am already annoyed by my Threads notifications. I don't know what your experience has been like.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like the question is, Twitter for whatever reason has always punched above its weight in terms of just like sort of a cultural relevance, and Threads arrived with a splash, but like, can it maintain that kind of relevance, or can it even achieve that kind of relevance? I mean, look at Clubhouse. I feel like Clubhouse is kind of a good analogy. Remember when everybody was signing up for Clubhouse and like everyone was talking about Clubhouse and it seemed like everything was happening on Clubhouse? I can't remember the last time anyone mentioned Clubhouse, right? So I think there's, maybe a lesson there. But yeah, like, for the decentralization and data privacy thing, like, again, I mean, I think data privacy is super important, but I think sometimes when people build new products, they overestimate how much of a premium people put on data privacy. And like, let's just sort of be realistic here. Mark Zuckerberg does not have a good reputation on data privacy. I mean, that's kind of a very obvious statement, right? And yet 100 million people were able to sort of move beyond that, So I just feel like if you're building a new product, like, yes, data privacy should be in there. But I think sometimes, and I think we see this in crypto, like people have these really high-minded ideals, but then they like skip over things, or they kind of cut corners on things like onboarding or the user experience, and that's where they have trouble. So I think what we just saw with this is that at the end of the day, people want something where they can just get on it really quickly. And again, network effects, unfortunately, they matter. Now, not everybody has like an Instagram user base to tap into, but it sort of shows that maybe sometimes there's a value in these kinds of strategic alliances. And we see this in crypto sometimes, right? Where like some of these smaller upstarts, like they'll partner with like a bigger, better known brand. And maybe, these are the kind of things that maybe you need to consider if you're really serious about, quote unquote, mainstream adoption.
Yeah, I know Twitter CEO Linda Yaccarino really pointed to the culture of Twitter in her response to Threads. And I tend to agree that Twitter culture I'm not seeing on Threads yet, but it's important to point out Facebook owns, I believe, 4 of the top social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. That's 3. I believe the 4th one is YouTube. And so if anyone's going to do it, I think Facebook. But just like you said, Emily, they don't have the same ideals that we advocate for so much in this industry.
Absolutely. And again, everyone was like, oh, I'm so frustrated. I don't want to be subject to the whims of an overly powerful billionaire, but like, I guess I'll just go over to this other overly powerful billionaire, So yeah, in that sense, it's a little bit disappointing in that sense.
Well, maybe Elon's going to be working on his new AI platform, and he'll leave a gap in the market that someone can fill soon. All right, you can read Emily's opinion piece on CoinDesk.com. Emily, thank you for talking us through that.